Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Today begins the Memorial Day weekend, and that means lots of barbecues, or perhaps you're planning to eat out at your favorite restaurant. Eating out can be problematic for some people, particularly those who are trying to lose weight or are diabetic. On today's edition of Another View on Health, we talk with Hope Warshaw, author of Eat Out, Eat Well. She has some advice on navigating the restaurant landscape. My co-host, Dr. Keith Newby, is here also, staying on track when you're eating out. That's next on Another View, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Just want to say that I know many of you have started your Memorial Day weekend early, so thanks for taking us along with you as you drive to your destination. We sure appreciate you. Cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby is here, as he is every fourth Friday of the month. Hi, Keith.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful.
I'm doing great. And I just want to say, last night was the Hunter B. Andrews dinner, which is a dinner that we do for our major donors here at WHRO. And Melissa Block, who is the host of All Things Considered, was in the area, and I had the privilege and pleasure last night of interviewing her. She didn't want to do a speech. She wanted to be interviewed. So
how was that?
It turned out really, really well.
All
and
right.
I think at least the feedback that I've gotten, people were very pleased.
Do you know where she lives?
She was a lot of fun. She lives in D.C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so it's not too
she's
far
in that
away.
area, so she
Okay.
wasn't too far away.
All right.
Absolutely. And I also want to let you all know that if you remember a little while ago, we did a show with an Achievable Dream Virginia Beach campus. It was a brand new program that they've started in Virginia Beach. They're being very, very successful with
Excellent.
working with the students, particularly in the SeaTac area
Okay.
of Virginia Beach. And they're having an Evening of Dreams event at the Sandler Center for the Performing Arts. It is Saturday, May 30th from 6:30 until 10 p.m. And if you'd like to go, just check out achievabledream.org/events, or you can call 757-599-9472. So just wanted to get that in. So if you're someone who has to monitor the foods you eat, you may be diabetic or you're on a weight loss plan, it's really tough to eat out at a restaurant. Is the entree cooked in butter? Just how many carbs are really in the meal? Is this choice better than that one? So many questions, but our guest today has some answers. Her name is Hope Warshaw, author of Eat Out, Eat Well. Hope is a nationally recognized expert in diabetes management. Welcome, Hope, to Another View. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, your book is sponsored by the American Diabetes Association, but the information you have in here really pertains to all of us, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we are all eating out more than ever before. As I say, I think we eat out in part to get the job of eating done because it's quick and easy and convenient. We also eat out more because that's the way that we socialize. And I was actually listening in to you and Dr. Keith's earlier, and I think you were sort of talking about some food.
Yes, we were. Absolutely, we were.
That you'd like
And
to be eating this weekend. So I think I just need to come down there and come along with you.
And come along and teach us how to eat properly in a restaurant.
We have to watch what we say.
Absolutely. But, you know, and Dr. Newby loves it that people eat out since he also owns several restaurants. So let's...
But we won't talk about any bad choices that may be there.
Exactly.
Ours are great.
But you had a few statistics in your book that I want to read because I was just surprised. There are nearly 1 million restaurants within the United States borders.
I can believe
That's
that.
just a lot. Americans
Right.
spend about $1.8 billion a day on restaurant
Seriously?
foods.
A day.
That's what it says here. Americans spend about $1.8 billion a day on restaurant foods. Restaurant sales were projected at over $660 billion, equal to 4% of the U.S. gross domestic product. And the other one I found more interesting is that Americans eat roughly 1/3 of their calories from food purchased away from home. And they spend 47% of their food dollars in restaurants.
Wow.
So those
That's
are some
right.
interesting statistics. And why do you think we eat out so much now, Hope?
Well, I think that I sort of said it before, is that, when you think back to when, I'm going to guess the three of us were growing up, restaurant eating was really a special occasion. We went out for a Mother's Day. We went out for a birthday anniversary. We didn't use restaurant eating as the way we get eating done. And we also didn't do nearly as much socializing around food. It seems that today we really don't get together with friends or create an activity if it isn't a central focus around food. And that often is, okay, we're going to go to this restaurant, or we're going to take out this pizza and bring it to the ballpark, or, we're going to go to a baseball game and plan to have dinner there. I mean, those are all decisions that one needs to make around restaurant food. So I want people to think a little bit more globally, that this book is focused in on whether you eat foods in a restaurant, or whether you take them out, or whether you're eating them in a ballpark.
So wherever you are consuming food away from home, you have to think about what is in that food. Talk to us a little bit about how the book is broken down, Hope.
Sure. So Eat Out, Eat Well is a pretty big book that we can't show on the radio, but it's about 6 by 8, and it's about almost 600 pages. There are 3 sections to the book, and as you well stated, Barbara, the book is published by the American Diabetes Association, and though there is content focused in on people with diabetes and pre-diabetes, we can come back to that topic in a few minutes, there is some excellent general information throughout the book about just healthier restaurant eating for everyone. So the first section of the book really focuses in on the pitfalls of restaurant eating, and then offers a lot of general skills and strategies for healthy restaurant eating. Section 2 focuses in on 7 of the different types of American cuisine. So anywhere from fast food restaurants to sub shops to family style sit down restaurants. And then section 3 goes through all of the ethnic types of restaurants that we know and love so well, from Mexican to Chinese, Italian, pizza, Middle Eastern, and a couple of others.
So I was curious, speaking of the ethnic fare restaurants that were listed here, that I did not see soul food. And I wonder if that's an issue, or are you telling us we can go ahead and eat our soul food?
Well, I mean, one of the points of in Eat Out, Eat Well, and I've actually been writing and talking about healthy restaurant eating as a dietitian for 20 years. This book is actually sort of a pulling together of a couple of books that I've written over the years, one a little more focused on ethnic eating, another one focused a little bit more on chain restaurants. So I know this topic and have written and talked about it for many years. But you were asking me about soul food. No, there's not a chapter on soul food. Maybe that's for another edition. But I mean, one of my basic premises that I think is very important to communicate is that really where there's a will, there's a way when it comes to restaurant food. If people choose to and want to eat restaurant meals healthfully, they can. And it's both about what you choose from a menu, but actually even more so the amount of food that you get put in front of you.
That portion control, as always. Let me throw out the phone numbers to join our conversation. We're talking with Hope Warshaw, who is the author of Eat Out, Eat Well, and she's going to give us some strategies on how to eat restaurant foods and yet maintain our health. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Before we start taking calls, though, and Dr. Newby, I want to bring you in on this part of the conversation, too. Part of the whole thing around eating healthy and trying to avoid gaining weight is because we as a society are so heavy. And it leads to diseases like heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. And I know in the African American community in particular, those are very critical areas. Dr. Newby.
And again, because if you look at what's available, most of the foods that you go, unfortunately, so when you talk about like those food deserts and these other places where they don't have access to a lot of healthy foods, a lot of this quick stuff you get, I mean, it's just like loaded with carbs and, saturated fats and all these other things. And unfortunately, so that's what we have a lot of access to. I have family, loves oodles and noodles, and that's just a salt noodle brigade. I mean, a lot of stuff has very little nutritional value in the end.
Got a lot of college kids through,
but exactly. And and I've been one of those in the past, so we all know what we have to deal with. But I have found, though, unfortunately, so that style is going to do us in. I mean, because it really does lead to a lot of these problems. Because once that obesity kicks in, then you talk about getting glucose intolerant, which leads to prediabetes, which leads to diabetes. And we have a lot of our people who are actively getting there. I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, even in the hospital, I'm always, looking for diabetes and prediabetes and any heart patient that comes in.
Wow.
At least 90% of the time, I'm going to find something, and a lot of times they come in saying they never had a history. And I try to explain to them, because you never had a history. I mean, things change over time. We are dynamic beasts. We're not, static.
Right.
We're going to always change. And as we get older, things do change, and you have to start looking out for this.
So, Hope, what are the major pitfalls in restaurant eating that we tend to overlook?
Sure. So I do go into 10 pitfalls in Eat Out, Eat Well, but I'll cover the top ones right now. And I'll cover them in priority order, to me at least. Is number one, we've sort of touched on it a little bit, is portions. So, generally speaking, portions in restaurants are huge, and we're served way more food than we need to be eating. Second pitfall is that excess fats and oils more than we need, and sometimes the less healthy fats are used in restaurant foods. And those can come in the form of ingredients. They can come in additional fats and oils being added to food, from cream cheese, mayonnaise, sauces, cheese. Cheeses seems to be a favorite ingredient in many, particularly in American type of cuisine, and that's the leading source of saturated fat in our diet. Number three, I would put at sodium. You can go out and eat a restaurant meal and easily hit your target of 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day in one meal. And four, I would list that, as the doctor was saying, that in many restaurants it becomes very difficult to eat the way that we know we should be eating, and that is eating more fruits, eating more vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy foods. And those are some of the more difficult foods to find, and to find economically from restaurants.
I noticed that in your listings, and we're going to go through some of those, but that you don't list the proteins. And when you're talking about various dishes. Hello? Hope
No,
you there? Okay.
The protein is there.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So there's in each of the 15 cuisine chapters.
Yes.
There are what I call health busters.
Right. That's what I'm looking at.
Which are examples of what I sort of also call the oh my God foods. And I have them there for the purpose of helping people get some insight into what is in their foods. And you are correct in Health Busters, the protein is not there, but the calories, total fat, carb, and sodium is. And then on the healthier side of things, I give a series of healthier fats. And there are a few more nutritionals, including protein, fiber, cholesterol, given for those foods.
We were talking in our pre-production meeting and looking at some of the health busters, and the blooming onion came up. And I think it was more calories than I'm supposed to have in a day in that one thing.
I would bet. I mean, that's taking the onion, the good old onion, and as I say, adding insult to injury. They take it and they bread it and they deep fry it and then they serve it with some
sauce.
fat-based sauce. But that one is pretty obvious. I think what is less obvious to people are things like a Cobb salad. You think you're eating something that's relatively healthful, but it comes topped with blue cheese, and it comes topped with bacon bits, and then salad dressings. And I swear America's favorite salad dressings are blue cheese and Thousand Island, and those can run a good 70 calories a tablespoon. So, and these salads that we get served can be huge. So they are double what we need. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you really are not a fan of bacon. That I noticed in all the foods in terms of the red light foods you have and the green light foods, so to speak, in terms of ingredients. And bacon is always on the red side.
Well, I can't say much in terms of healthiness of bacon. I think Dr. Keith would agree. But, it is a wonderful food. I do enjoy it on occasion. And I think that comes back to my point about portions. And the other thing I would say about bacon is if you're going to enjoy it from time to time, have the best. And make it taste really good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think one of the things that as I was delving in the restaurant business myself, and you talk to people that do it all the time, and I get like a lot of people I know. They'll say, I'd love to have a healthy restaurant, and won't you develop that? And you hear that, but one of the things that most of the people I know in the business says, but they'll go out of business within 2 weeks because although although people say they'll frequent it, they really don't. Interestingly, I had a guy tell me, he says what sells, and it hits on what her point was earlier, what sells is butter, fat, and salt.
Because that's where the taste comes
That's where the taste comes in, and that's unfortunately so. She made that comment about, I'm laughing at you with the talking about people know what they should eat, but they don't. I think a lot of people don't have a clue what they should eat. They so used to eating wrong. When you actually put something right in front of them, they look like to get the nose turned. What's this?
Exactly. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Carol joins us from Suffolk. Hi, Carol. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. I just wanted to point out, just like I just heard a second ago about the choices in the restaurants, I think that as consumers, those of us who actually do know that brown rice is better than white rice and whole wheat pasta is better than white pasta, if we expect a restaurant to provide that type of food for us and don't frequent them, if they don't, then that's a way for those of us that do want healthier choices to make some changes, and not necessarily change the whole menu, but maybe if the restaurant, for example, some restaurants will offer a whole wheat pasta as an alternative. Unfortunately, you usually have to ask for it. It's not always on the menu, but I always ask for brown rice instead of white, or whole wheat pasta instead of white, to make those changes that are more heart healthy, still get the flavor, but make some changes that make it more, keep it palatable and make it a little healthier for our hearts and our bodies.
Great. Thanks, Carol, for the call. So Carol is saying, Hope, that you should vote with your pocketbook in terms of healthy foods.
I agree with her, and a lot is based on consumer demand. I also agree with the comments that you were both making earlier, that it is tough. We still have this notion, as much as we're on average eating a third of our calories in restaurants, and we're eating 5 meals on average a week, is that we have this notion that every restaurant meal is sort of back in the 1950s, a special occasion. And unfortunately, it is one of the reasons, among many, that we have, as a society, packed on a lot of weight.
I do have to read this one. I'm looking at this now. Under appetizers. Now, these are health busters that you were talking about. TGI Fridays loaded potato skins, which are really great. One serving. Are you ready for this, audience? 2,030 calories.
Whoa, seriously?
That's the appetizer. I mean, Hope, people don't really think about it like that, do they?
No, they don't. People don't really have a way of estimating the calories and those kinds of things, which is exactly why I included a handful of them for each restaurant type.
Well, you know what I think it boils down to? I think, when you really think about it, it's not so much that you don't realize. I think people just don't want to know. I mean, because when I think about that appetizer, because I've seen that appetizer, I've never actually had it before, but I have seen it. And as I'm thinking about it, it looks like it has about like 2,000 calories, but you don't think about it. And you won't ask, because if you hear it, you're just going to say, man, now I can't have that, but I want it.
Okay, so let's bring this down to some real life situations, Hope. So let's say we go to a buffet. We go to Golden Corral, as an example.
Oh, no.
How do we choose? Exactly. First of all,
I like that one.
As we're walking in, what should we be thinking about in terms of which direction we're going to go?
She's going to say,
what
out
should
the door.
we be eating? What should we be eating at a buffet?
Edge left, out the exit.
I knew what she was going to say on that one.
No, remember I said I think that you can eat healthfully in nearly any kind of restaurant, and I think that in Golden Corral you can choose. I mean, it's pretty difficult, but I think one can escape having eaten a healthy meal. You mentioned something, Barbara, that I think is extremely critical, and that is that you do some pre-planning. That at least in your mind, most of the time we're going to restaurants where we have been, 50, 100 times. We know what the menu is. We don't necessarily have to take a menu in our hands and whet our appetites. So if people can go in with a plan in mind for healthful eating, that's all the better. Okay.
And so you said there are certain words that we should look for as we're making our selection to know that it's a healthier choice.
Well, in a Golden Corral, let's sort of work through this example, because I think it's a good one and challenging one. I would be talking initially with one's dining partner. I mean, so often we're eating out with friends, we're eating out with a spouse, we're eating out as a family, and we can talk about what we may be willing to split and share. There may be a great-sized steak in a Golden Corral that's perfect for 2 people to share. So maybe it's the 10-ounce, if you got to have that ribeye, maybe it's the 10-ounce ribeye that's going to be about 7 ounces cooked by the time you get it, and you're willing to split that, and maybe you're willing to split one of those giant potatoes, and you order an extra serving of a mixed vegetable or green bean to get some more volume and get some vegetables in your meal, and maybe you order an extra trip to the salad bar. Now, I would encourage people to be really careful at those large and long salad bars, because they can really be places where people can pick up a lot of extra fat. If you feel you're safe going up to one of those, I would take a plate. I would load it with the healthier raw vegetables, a good bed of lettuce, shredded carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers, and then take small tastes of some of those items like a pasta salad or fruit ambrosia or fried noodles or croutons.
Okay.
So, and then really be careful with salad dressings. I mean, one of the things that people can do around salad dressing is they can take a small amount of a dressing that they totally enjoy, and then they can take that bottle of vinegar, and usually there's a few different ones, a red wine vinegar, or balsamic vinegar, or some lemon wedges, and dilute out that salad dressing on their salad, because that'll really minimize the calories.
Okay, that's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Hope Warshaw, author of Eat Out, Eat Well, the Guide to Healthy Eating in Any Restaurant. And also with us is my Another View on Health co-host, cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby. Let's go to Lisa in Virginia Beach. Hi, Lisa. You're on the air. Oh, I think we just lost Lisa, just that quick. Okay, let's go to Justin in Yorktown. Hi, Justin. You're on the air.
Hi, how's it going?
Okay.
I was just calling in. I noticed the guest was speaking about salad dressings and fats and butters, sugars. Dairy goes along with the butter, but what does she say about the actual dairy products that are on those buffet lines? Because a dollop of sour cream can have upwards to a couple hundred calories depending on if it's fat-free or not. 1 teaspoon of olive oil has 120 calories in it. You know, just like that, you're putting in hundreds of calories just by tossing some cheese on your salad or eating the macaroni and cheese that is 700 or 800 calories for a normal size portion that people believe, hey, I'm at a buffet, I'm just going to gorge on all of these savory foods, and a buffet you could eat several thousand calories without even knowing it.
Right. Okay, let's get a response from Hope.
Right. Sure. And let me speak for a second to the point about olive oil. It's actually 120 calories per tablespoon, and that's really true for any liquid oil. I think that the problem lies here with some of our notions around what we consider healthier foods. So olive oil, I think, has a good, what I call, halo of health. And so sometimes people think, well, then I can use as much of it as I want. Well, that olive oil still has 120 calories per tablespoon. On the sour cream, I totally agree with your caller. That's a food that, at least in my mind, doesn't add a whole lot of flavor, adds a whole lot of calories. Sour cream comes up, I think, more so, well, maybe added to a baked potato in a restaurant like we're talking about, a steakhouse. I would maybe use a little bit of it. At home, I certainly would recommend that people use a fat-free yogurt, either a plain or a Greek yogurt, because that can fill the bill, but that's not usually available in restaurants. In a Mexican restaurant, where we also tend to see sour cream, I would just ask that it be left in the kitchen.
Okay.
I would go for guacamole. That's often an accompaniment there. I've typically asked for, you can replace the sour cream with a little more guacamole for me.
Okay. So you can still keep flavor and so forth, but still eat healthy. Lisa joins us. I think we are okay now with the phones. Lisa, are you there? From Virginia Beach.
No, that is cheaper for me to get 2 for, like the roasted chicken sandwich, 2 for and eat one, and have one for lunch, one for dinner, and $5, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
yep.
She's saying buy 2 sandwiches and then eat one. And let's talk a little bit, Hope, about sandwiches. What's the pitfalls? What are the pitfalls that we see when we order a sandwich from a deli or from anywhere, actually?
Well, typically speaking, there's probably too much protein in many sandwiches. And oftentimes it's harder to find a whole wheat or whole grain bread. It's easier to find a bread that is light on fiber and light on whole grains. So those are the 2 places that people need to make some efforts. I mean, one of the things I love about restaurants like Subway, and I'm sure you've got plenty of those in your area, is first of all, they have some whole grain bread. Secondly, you really are in the driver's seat in a Subway because you can direct that person making your sandwich right there to do this or that with your sandwich. So, for instance, I'll often say, okay, well, don't use as much meat, and I can get them to really pile on the veggies. So I sort of max out the amount of vegetables and therefore the amount of volume that I get. You can say, no, don't put olive oil or on my sandwich, but use some vinegar and use some mustards, which are basically calorie-free.
So you can make those choices yourself. I was just looking at the list of, in the various foods, you have a list of what you call green light words and red light words. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. So in each of those
green
chapters
flag, yes.
in section 2 and 3, right, it's red flag and green flag, right. But red light and green light was very close. Basically, those are ingredients and dishes that are either healthful, meaning green light or green flag, or items that one should stay away from, and those are the red flag. So they are meant to help people familiarize themselves with items and ingredients to look for on menus.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, there you are. Okay. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. For some reason, the audio just went out on us. Let's see. Joe joins us from Hampton. Hi, Joe. You're on the air.
Yes. I'm a 77-year-old man, and I'm a foodie, and I'm part owner of restaurants and everything. And when I stopped playing football in North State, and I was there for 4 years, when I stopped playing football, I stopped eating. And plus, I learned how to eat food. I mean, I've got a lot of friends here in the organization that we're working with, the culture and historic thing. And they have been looking at me on how I eat and what I eat. And I'm a stickler for eating on time. And it's all about discipline and whether you want to be healthy or not. And I think more people, cheat on themselves than I just can't believe it. You need to say what you're doing and do what you say.
Okay, thanks, Joe, so much for your call. I appreciate
that one, though.
Go ahead,
Keith.
Keith.
One of the things that I always laugh when I'm seeing patients in the office and we talk about eating habits, and the one thing that's consistently the same is people who are typically overweight. If the discussion comes up, they all say the same thing. But Doc, I don't hardly eat anything, and I'm like, you're eating something. It's all. And I say all those terms are relative. Relative to what? You say you're not eating very much. Relative to what are you not eating much of? I have found consistently, though, when you talk about like people biggie size this and do that, they say, okay, I want 2 Big Macs, a large order of fries, and a Diet Coke. I'm looking at what's a Diet Coke supposed to do at that stage of the game? I mean, after 8,000 calories, I don't think that extra 200 from that soda is going to make much of a difference.
And I'm glad you brought up fast food, though, because Hope, we wanted to ask you this. We were surprised when you talk about fast foods. The conventional thought is if you order a fish sandwich, it's better than a hamburger. But not according to your book.
What is that fish?
Is it a real fish?
Remember that commercial, Where's the Beef? The challenge is, where's the fish?
I heard
because when you look at, for example, a McDonald's fish fillet sandwich that people know well, and I don't take everything out of McDonald's at all because I think they've done some great things. But, you've got this white bread roll, you've got this teeny bit of fish, which maybe is 2 ounces, and I may be exaggerating. Then you've got tartar sauce, that fish is fried, and you've got a slice of cheese on it.
Okay. So when you go to a fast food restaurant, then what should you keep in mind?
Well, one of the things that, and this may surprise people, that I actually believe that fast food restaurants, and I like to think of fast food restaurants as way beyond just our burger and chicken types of restaurants. I mean, to me, Subway is a fast food restaurant, and we can get pizza fast, and we can get Mexican fast. So think a little bit broader. I call them the walk-up-and-order style restaurants. But some of those style restaurants really today are helping us more with healthy eating than sit-down restaurants. When you think about it, I mean, you can go into McDonald's and other sort of burger chain-type restaurants, and you can choose to have a junior size of something or a regular size of something or a small serving of fries. So, and they've done actually a great job with helping families with young kids, where now if you go in and you order a kid's meal at those types of restaurants, the default for a drink is going to be milk, and the default for a side item is going to be apple slices or an orange or a baby carrot. So, they're doing their thing. But you do have a selection of portions.
It's really interesting because when as little kids, if they're brought up eating vegetables and carrots and so forth, they will continue to do that. My granddaughter, we were at Red Robin for her birthday party, and she actually asked for carrots. And it blew me away because I just knew she was going to go for the fries. But I think the earlier you're trained to eat well, hopefully it will stay with you. Let's see. Eloise joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Eloise. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. How is everybody today?
Doing fine.
Good. My comment is, and although I think the information here is great, however, in my office there are 4 people. And all 4 people lost weight doing different things. And one had a wheat allergen. So once she solved that, it was 50 pounds gone. The other one had, some type of hormone problem. Once she solved that, that was like 70 pounds gone. The other one had a snacking problem. She just increased her fiber and got rid of most of the snacks. And your last one, I think she had like a drinking problem. So she cut down on the drinking. And, my point more than anything else is that it would be great if we can have other alternatives besides eat carrot sticks, celery, and salads with no oil dressing.
Okay, then we'll see. We'll get you some more ideas to do that, Eloise. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, Hope.
Well, I think in the end... Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Hope.
Go ahead, Hope, first, and I'll come to you, Keith.
Firstly, I think that losing weight and even more so keeping lost weight off is an ongoing challenge. It is not easy, and it's not usually as simple, as I think Eloise noted. And one of the things that I'm trying to do in Eat Out, Eat Well is to say to people that there is a balance here. You can choose to eat healthfully in restaurants and also very much enjoy your food. It really is about learning some menu creativity, learning some skills and strategies, particularly to control those pitfalls, the portions and the fats.
Keith?
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I've come to this conclusion, and I can't say that I'm right on this, but I think I am, is I have found that, in her comment, Eloise's comment, about the different people doing different things, I have found consistently, though, even in my own weight loss strategies, that when there has to be consistency. And a lot of people they'll try to mismatch different strategies, and I found that doesn't work.
So pick what you're going to do and stick
to it. I mean, I can't say that I'm right completely on that, but I have found anytime I've tried to mismatch things, then I don't automatically successful. But when I say this is my plan, this is what I'm gonna stick to, and I stick to it, because it sounds like all those 4 people she named actually were doing one thing different. And they stuck with that one thing, and that's triggered the change. But I found consistently, if you do that, you will find more success than not.
Okay, let's try to get one more call in. Mary Alice joins us from Franklin. Hi, Mary Alice. You're on the air.
Hey, Barbara. How are you?
I'm doing great. So good to hear from you.
Good to be talking to you. I just wanted to comment. One thing that has helped me is keeping a food journal. Sometimes I do eat the dessert, but it really helps me see what I'm eating. And, of course, there are a lot of, apps you can get on your smartphones. I use my Fitness Pal, and some things that I thought were maybe healthier eating, I discovered were not.
Give us an example. Can you give us an example?
Oh, an example, yes. For instance, I love the Fiesta Lime chicken at Applebee's, but I discovered it's a whole lot better for me to order their 7-ounce sirloin than it is the chicken.
Depending on the sauces and so forth that they put on there.
Right.
That's great. I think that you make some excellent points. Let me come back to what you were saying about tracking.
Yes.
Tracking has, when we look at the research around weight management, both weight loss and keeping those pounds off, one of the commonalities in the research is accountability, and that people do track what they eat, and they do that on an ongoing basis. I did want to mention, we haven't touched on this, that along with the book, Eat Out, Eat Well, there is a companion app. And Barbara mentioned apps. So the app is Eat Out Well. It is free. It's available on iTunes and Google Play. And basically it uses GPS technology, and so it will pick up the restaurants that you are near, and it gives the majority of menu items and the nutrition information.
Oh, wow.
So the nutrition information in the book, as I've been saying, is really more there for the purpose of examples, and the app contains a wide range of nutrition information for restaurant foods.
So Dr. Newby just looked it up on his smartphone as we're sitting here, downloading it right now. And so it is called Eat Out Well, correct?
That is correct.
That is correct.
And it's free.
Okay. That's a great thing to have. Okay, we've got about 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes or so left. So I want you, Hope, to kind of give us a quick synopsis of, if you do 1, 2, 3, you'll be well on your way.
Sure. You want me to wrap it up with a nice bow, right?
Exactly. Wrap it up with a nice bow.
So let me first say that I don't feel that this is easy. We definitely live in a challenging food culture. I think that Joe said it well, that with some perseverance and a can-do attitude, we can do this. I know I do it. Others, I feel, can do it. I think that what's so key is portion control. Mm-hmm. Number one, we've mentioned it a few times. I would underline it. Start to develop your strategies, both independently for yourself as well as how your family eats. I think we have so much that we can do. Barbara, you mentioned your grandchild. Mm-hmm. We have a lot we can do with helping that younger generation and starting from early on to develop healthier eating habits. I know Dr. Keith well knows the kind of risks that we're looking at for people, particularly African Americans, for diseases like high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes, and they all, unfortunately, go hand in hand.
Right, exactly. The book is called Eat Out, Eat Well, A Guide to Healthy Eating in Any Restaurant by Hope S. Warshaw. Hope, thank you so much for joining us on Another View. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been delightful.
Okay.
And have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
Don't eat too much.
I promise. Absolutely. Keith, you got the last minute.
Okay.
What do you want to tell people to do?
Well, I just say, like anything else, just be careful of the sauces. Those are typically going to be the danger points. Again, just try not to put too much stuff on things. I think, those points were made earlier, and I really do believe those to be true. Try to avoid all the excess breads, excess, pastas, all the sauces, and you really can't go wrong. And it's not to say that's going to be bad. Everybody's like, well, man, I'm going to stay home then. But I really do believe if you can do that, you will find success in your trials.
Okay. Cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby joins us every fourth Friday of the month for Another View on Health, and we will be right back.
I'm with Marcellus, and you all are checking out Another View on WHRV 89.5. Don't go anywhere. Check us out.
Wynton Marsalis. That is just so, the music sounds so good. She's been described as one of the most successful African-American female journalists of all time. I'm talking about PBS NewsHour anchor Gwen Ifill. Not only is she a television journalist, but she's also a best-selling author and an educator. Our Lisa Godley sat down with Gwen during her recent visit to the College of William and Mary, where she put on the hat of the college's 2015 Hunter B. Andrews Distinguished Fellow.
More than 4 million viewers get their information from the PBS NewsHour each week, and one of the most trusted and respected names in journalism is there to deliver it.
Hundreds of migrants drown crossing the Mediterranean. Good evening, I'm Gwen Ifill.
Gwen Ifill is humbled when people admire all she's accomplished, and she's quick to point out that she could not have reached this level of success without some help.
Carol Simpson, who was a weekend anchor at ABC, Esther Payne, who covered the White House, starting with Eisenhower at a time when nobody had ever seen a black woman there. There are a whole lot of people who broke down doors that allowed me to walk through, and I didn't seem so strange or so odd anymore. I spent a lot of time wanting to be a journalist first, not wanting to be on TV, and I think that's an important part of it. I wanted to tell the story, I wanted to write the story, and to this day I tell students they've got to learn how to write before they learn how to talk.
30 years as a journalist have netted Gwen Ifill a lot of memories that she is thankful for and cherishes.
The first time I was ever on the floor of a political convention, we were such junkies growing up about politics that I was just thrilled to be there for the balloon drop. First time I got to interview a sitting president of the United States, I was just thrilled. It was Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton, I'd covered his campaign and gotten to know him as Governor Clinton, and the first time we walked into the Oval Office when he was president, we both looked at each other like, Can you believe this? And I have a dear friend who is also a black journalist, and she and I call them colored girl moments, where we look up and we say, I'm just a colored girl in America. Look where I am today.
The daughter of immigrants from Panama, Gwen's father was an African Methodist Episcopal minister, but she says she wasn't just a preacher's kid. She was the child of a man who was very engaged in the world around him.
He would bring home the current events. We were very conscious of marches in the street. We were very conscious of the connection between what government did, whether it was the Voting Rights Act, whether it was the end of the war in Vietnam, and how it affected our lives. And because we understood the connection between government and politics and our lives and how it actually changed our lives, we all maintained a really healthy interest in news and public affairs.
In addition to writing a bestseller and serving as managing editor for both the NewsHour and Washington Week, Gwen Ifill has moderated 2 vice presidential debates.
The second vice presidential debate I moderated was with Sarah Palin and Joe Biden. It's the one most people remember. It's the one Queen Latifah played me on Saturday Night Live. It was a weird moment.
We would like to remind our audience that due to the historically low expectations for Governor Palin, were she simply to do an adequate job tonight and at no point cry, faint, run out of the building, or vomit.
What most people don't know is that the night before I was flying to St. Louis for that debate, I had an accident at home, fell down and broke my ankle. They had to build an elevator to get me to the stage. They had to build a box underneath the desk for me to keep my leg propped up on. I couldn't take pain medication because I thought it would make me loopy during the debate, so I did it on adrenaline, and I still got through it. If you can do that, you can do almost anything. And in the end, my keenest memory is probably not, Sarah Palin saying, "Can I call you Joe?" which everybody else heard and I didn't. But it was that the 2 guys who got me on stage were football players named Buck and Tim, and they were very cute.
Gwen says she always loved to write as far back as elementary school, but she had a hard time finishing anything. So she loved the idea of being a journalist and having deadlines.
I wanted to be paid to be nosy, and I wanted someone to impose a deadline on me so I could tell the story.
She admits that it was tough disciplining herself to write her book, The Breakthrough: Politics and Race in the Age of Obama.
I asked everybody who had ever written a book, who I'd ever met, how did you do it? And the one person who gave me a piece of advice was Jim Lehrer, because he writes a book every year. And he said, you have to put your butt in the chair and write every day. And he was right. In the end, you have to ignore writer's block. Even if what you write is garbage later and you can throw it away, you sit down every day, morning, noon, night, whenever it works for you, and write whatever you're thinking. And then you're done. It seems simple, but it really can be hard. Friends would call and say, you want to go to the movies? And I'd go, no, don't you know I'm writing? I would just lost my mind. But I got it done.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And Gwen Ifill has been selected as the 2015 recipient of the 4th Estate Award, the most prestigious prize given by the National Press Club. She and I were colleagues in Baltimore together, so congratulations, Gwen. And that's our show for today. If you'd like to hear it again or share it with a friend, visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. Next week, our favorite relationship expert, Alvian Lyons, joins us. We're talking about African-American fathers and dispelling some commonly held myths about Black dads. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, and Chantel Davis answered our phones. Please be safe during this Memorial Day weekend, and let's all remember the real reason for the holiday, to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, and to say thank you to the men and women in uniform who defend our country. Have a great holiday weekend, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.